Thank you for coming and attending the Candidates Forum for the representative race for District 87. I'm Pat Bingham, a member of the League of Women Voters, and I'd like to tell you that we're very pleased. Standing room only, that's a good thing on an election, standing room only. We have tonight incumbent Rick Nelson and challenger candidate Josh Howard. And on behalf of the League, we want to thank them for giving up time out of their campaigns and their busy schedule to appear here tonight. This forum is designed as a way to impart information to you, the voter, in accordance with the League's belief. We believe in a democratic government, which everyone here does, and we believe that it depends upon an informed and active participation by you, voters. The format for this forum has been agreed upon by the candidates. Opening statements by each candidate are 2 minutes each. Responses to questions are 2 minutes each. The order of questioning, order of opening, and closing has been randomly decided before the forum. Questions tonight were drawn from the community at large over the past month. Our timekeeper, Miss Susan Leo, gentlemen, first row, will indicate your time. She will also indicate time remaining, and when 30 seconds is remaining, she will give you that notice. She will allow you to finish a sentence, but arbitrarily, we will not let you start your response. Our forum will conclude with both candidates doing a 2-minute statement. And this time is to be used by the candidates to address issues that they feel have not been previously raised in the questioning. Also, there will be an opportunity after the forum for you, the citizens, to address any questions to the candidates personally. The opening statements have been decided, but the gentlemen here are definitely over 24 years old because that is the requirement in the state of Kentucky. State representative has basically 2 major issues that involve his candidacy and his term. They make laws for the state and they pass budgets. 2 very important things to the citizens of Bell County and to the state. Opening statements. Mr. Howard, you're open.
First, thanks to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this debate and for providing the opportunity to discuss new ideas, new leadership, and a new vision for the 87th District. Now, all elections are important as they set the course for our future. This election is particularly important because of the economic struggles we face, not only as a nation, but as a state. Washington has refused to make the tough decisions regarding our budget, our policies, and they've even failed to listen to their constituents who elected them. Their willingness to be uncooperative and to be in a stalemate has directly affected our district by creating economic hardships, the loss of jobs and living wages, and we've even seen a loss of funding for our social programs. Now, I made the decision, with the support of my wife, Whitney, and my family, to run for this position because the days of small vision have passed. Politics as usual have passed. In order for the 87th District to advance, we need strong, passionate leadership to work with whomever, to see our economy revitalized, people put back to work, and faith reestablished in elected representatives being responsible and responsive to the people. And people are asking for help, but our politicians are simply playing politics. It's not about a person, it's not about a party, It's about you. It's about your interests, your ideas. Now, my vision as your state representative is to be an ambassador for the area by promoting higher education and career opportunities for our young people, while emphasizing the importance of job skill and vocational training for our adults. It's as simple as that. I'm Josh Howard, and with your voting support, I will be elected your next state representative, and together we can make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you very much. I'm Rick Nelson, I'm the state representative. I too want to thank the League of Women Voters. And I also want to mention a special person that I've been to every one of these debates in Virginia Huff, if you remember her. She doesn't get out as much as she used to, but she was instrumental, and she was the first one, I think, that asked me for a debate, so maybe she'll see this on TV. I'd like to next introduce my wife, Inetta, and I'd like for her to stand up, because, stand up, please. Thank you. You know, when you're running for office, there's a lot of stress, and when you're in office, there's a lot of stress, and if you don't have someone backing you and giving you advice and listening to you complain sometimes, it's going to make your job a lot difficult, so I certainly appreciate my wife, Inetta. You know, I'm the luckiest man in the state of Kentucky because I've been elected by the citizens to represent them. And every morning when I get up, I say, I'm going to get a chance to help someone today. I think that's what state representative, part of the responsibilities. I know Pat mentioned the budget and making laws, and we are in Frankfort 4 months out of every year, that's true. But getting to help people individually, and I had 4 phone calls about an hour before I came in here. People needing help. One of them was on a Medicaid issue. Well, we made some calls. I think she's going to get help, because I think that's what my job and what I enjoy quite a bit. I'm pretty passionate about the job of representative. I eat, drink, and sleep. I'll wake up sometime in the middle of the night, go to the computer and write down an idea or something that maybe I can help somebody with. I know that we've had over $10 million worth of water projects in Bell County. Certainly that's looking forward. I know 1,500 families now, Bruce, have clean drinking water. And in Harlan County, we've had $9.3 million worth of water projects, a total of $19 million. Remember, the 87th district is all of Bell County and about 40% of Harlan County. I also retired from teaching to devote more time to be a full-time representative. Thank you.
Thank you. First question, Mr. Howard. What experiences and/or traits qualify you to be the Kentucky State Representative for District 87?
Thank you, Ms. Bean. First of all, to be a representative, you first have to be a leader. Now, I attended, before I get into that, I've had the opportunity to be a part of my community for the majority of my life. And in 2001, I was able to attend the Leadership University in Orlando, Florida. At that week-long conference, we learned what it was to be a leader, what integrity means. And I came away from that with 2 very strong quotes that I like to apply to my life every day. The first being that there comes a time in all of our lives when the little boy must sit down and the man must stand up. The second being that we are the same person 10 years from now as we are today, except for the places we go, the people we meet, the books we read, and the experiences we have. Now, I've met a lot of people. I've been a lot of places. I've certainly had a lot of experiences. That's what qualifies me to be a leader. My dedication, my desire, my energy to see the area that I've grown up in revitalized and to become the place that it once was and what it can be again. Looking forward to the future.
Mr. Nelson, same question. What experiences, traits, abilities qualify you to be re-elected to the state representative?
Okay. Well, I guess as an incumbent, I could say that we've been in office for a period of time, and that is experience itself. But when I ran for this office, I was age 46. I'm now 58. And I know it's great to be young. Everyone wishes they were 28 again, don't they? But you know what? There's something about an older person, the experiences that they have in life. You know, when you're young, You really don't know what hardships is usually. You probably don't have a death in the family, a sickness in the family, a flood that hits your home or anything like that. So even though I might be a little older candidate, I may have a little gray in my hair, I've also had some experiences in life that I believe helps me emphasize with folks that maybe go through the same things. I know that when I was born, we were born in a coal camp. I know we didn't have running water until I was in the 4th grade. And we went through some hard times in the late 50s and the early 60s. And we didn't know we was poor because everyone was just like us. But you know what? The experiences I have not only are as being your state representative and working with people every day on every issue. And I've had some phone calls with some ladies and gentlemen that I was their last resort. And we both ended up crying on the telephone. And that's kind of a shame. But that's part of the job of state representative. I also taught school for 29 years. I like to think that my 29 years teaching school, and I remember the first visit I made to one of the homes, a little kid lived in a school bus. Now, if that don't bring it home to you, seeing a kid live in a school bus, nothing will. So I think a little gray in your hair is good, especially when you've had some good life experiences that can help you do a better job in the future.
Amen. Mr. Nelson, next question. Switching roles, we're talking about coal. What changes would you propose at the state level to change the way coal severance monies are distributed to the coal-producing counties?
Well, first of all, coal is very important, and as I mentioned earlier, my dad worked in mines 29 years, but the coal severance program is a fairly new program. In the 70s, it was developed when Wendell Ford decided to take the tax off of medicine and food. So they come up with a severance tax to kind of make up for the state revenue on that. But I can tell you right now that there's only a handful of counties that get individual coal severance money. And I have filed bills, and almost every one of the Cole County legislators have filed bills to increase the amount of coal severance. But here's the issue that we have. It sounds good, but here's the issue we have. We only have about 16 to 18 Cole County representatives, and there's about 80 of them, the others, that don't get any coal severance money individually. So when I introduce a bill, when my colleagues introduce a bill, it has a very, very tough chance of getting in because the Cole counties get the individual coal severance money, and that's what we use a lot for our water projects. But the 80 or so representatives that doesn't get anything, they're a little bit jealous. So to try to get 51 votes there is very, very difficult. But there has been attempts to.
Mr. Howard, same question. Do you foresee, if elected, that you will propose changes at the state level to change the way coal severance monies are distributed to the coal-producing counties?
Absolutely. And I think that it's important to note that there's $5.2 billion at stake here. Last fiscal year, we got 886,000. Now that's 1,000, million, billion. There's two major coal hubs in the state of Kentucky. One in western Kentucky, which produced about 1.4 billion, and Bell and Harlan counties that produce the rest. And Mr. Nelson's correct. It does take a majority. But the fact of the matter is, no one's gone up there, and no one's tried. Now, my goal is to bring all coal severance dollars back to our area, and I will make an effort to do that. Now, the legislative process is unique, as many of you well know. But all it takes is good networking, being able to communicate with the other representatives. It takes an effort. It takes a bill. And if those 16 or 18 counties that have coal-producing plants in their counties, if we all stand up and we all say, we're not going to give any of our hard-earned money anymore, we're taking it back. What can those cities who have horses and who have Kentucky Wildcat basketball and who have Louisville Cardinals, that we don't get any of that money, what can they then say? So I think it's a matter of us setting a goal, reaching for it, and making it happen.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, next question, and we're continuing with the subject of coal. If we were not a coal-based economy, Bell and Harlan County, what direction will or would you promote for Eastern Kentucky if you were elected to the state House of Representatives?
That's a very important question, because the way the economy's going, the way Washington's going, unfortunately, coal may not be here much longer. So we have to utilize what else we have. You know what else we have? We have tourism that we've not tapped into. We have the first state park. We have Pine Mountain State Park. We're the home of Kingdom Come State Park. We're the home of Black Mountain, the highest point in the state of Kentucky that remains undeveloped today. We're the home of the Cumberland Gap. There wouldn't be a West. There wouldn't be the rest of America without us. We need to develop hotels, restaurants, attractions. We need to get people here. Whether coal remains at the forefront or not, this is something that we have to make happen. This is another area that we can emphasize to bring more people in, to cause them to stop and stay a while.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, speaking of the coal economy, if we were not a coal economy, if you were elected to go back to the House, what direction will you promote for Bell and Harlan County?
Well, first of all, I heard a number a few minutes ago that Bell County, the area just returned $800,000 in coal money. Well, I can tell you that Bell County received $5 million in coal severance, so I don't know where the $800,000 come from. But I think that the premise that coal is no longer going to be here, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, we've had booms and busts in the coal before, and I think if the EPA would get off our back a little bit, that we could really do a lot better in our coal. We've lost a lot of coal miners. But if we didn't have coal, going by your hypothetical question, then the best thing that you do have is tourism. Now, the #1 tourist attraction right now in the area is the Cumberland Gap National Park. And it draws in thousands and thousands of visitors. But let me ask you a question. What is a tourist? A tourist is someone that stays in your area and spends $187.50 a day. That's how the state of Kentucky determines if you're a tourist or not. Of course, if you get a tank of gas now and you're a local, you may be a tourist and live here. But tourism is the best way, it is the best thing that we have. But I also want to let you know that small businesses are 90%. 90% of businesses are small businesses. And that's another way that we can help develop our economy. We also have Pine Mountain State Park, we have a golf course, we have some hiking trails, and we have some things. But remember, the Cumberland Gap National Park is #1.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Continuing with the economy. With all, or rather with the many gas wells that are being drilled in Bell County, what is the future of natural gas or shale gas in Kentucky? Are there appropriate regulations in place, including a gas severance tax in place in Kentucky? What would you do with the issue of natural gas?
Natural gas has come to the forefront. As you know, the EPA is planning on closing many of our coal-fired plants. And what it's going to be replaced with is going to be the gas. Now here's the problem, and I want to mention this up front. We do have a lot of gas wells in Bell County, and they've kind of been dormant. Because if you remember 3 or 4 years ago, I bet you some of you all in here had natural gas to heat your home. And it got so high that you had to turn it off and get a heat pump. And I've often thought that maybe the natural gas folks have done this. They're going to try to drive all the coal out, keep the natural gas low, and then when all the coal plants are gone, then they're going to be the only game in town, and there you go, they're going to raise the natural gas as high as they could. I think that there's a lot of possibilities to the natural gas. Our biggest problem in Bell County right now is not natural gas wells, but it's the delivery system to go somewhere where it can be used. We don't have an adequate pipeline go from point A to point B. However, if natural gas is going to be part of the equation, the companies that own the natural gas are going to have to come forward with a plan with some more pipelines to deliver. And of course, a severance tax back in the 70s, it almost caused a revolt in Frankfurt when they tried to tax coal. But it's always a possibility. We have a severance tax now on gravel that's acquired. And that check is sent straight to the counties to spend. So I think it is a possibility.
Mr. Howard, the same issue. With so many gas wells in Bell County and in Kentucky, what is the future of natural gas or shale gas in Kentucky? Are there appropriate regulations in place, including gas severance tax here in Kentucky, that will protect the people of Kentucky?
First of all, I am a Republican, and I don't support any new taxes whatsoever. But I'm also a realist, and I also have common sense. There aren't the appropriate regulations right now on natural gas. Neither is there a natural gas severance money that is returned to areas. But there will be, because the government, Frankfurt, Washington, they always find a way to get their part, to take their piece of the pie. So what we have to be prepared to do is we have to stand up first and say, hey, you've done us wrong with our coal money. You've taken our coal money, our hard-working men go out here and mine it, and you take it and you give it to Lexington, you take it and you give it to Louisville. We're not going to let that happen with our natural gas. If there's one thing that Bell County and Harlan counties have, there's one thing about them. It's we're rich in resources. Natural gas is something in the coming decades that we're going to see boom. We're going to see it boom like the coal industry did in years past. We have to be prepared. We have to set the proper regulations now so that we get ours. And it's okay to be selfish. Never let anybody tell you that it's not okay to be selfish. Because when it comes to areas like ours, when it comes to coal and natural gas, we should be the richest nation in America, not just in the state of Kentucky. Thank you.
Mr. Howard,
Yes, ma'am.
we're still talking money, but we're going to switch topics. We're going to talk about Kentucky's prison system. The cost of the prison system in Kentucky is a very significant part of the state budget. Can you suggest ways that these costs can be reduced or at least contained?
Sure. I appreciate that question. And Ms. Bingham's right. The cost of our correctional facilities over the past 10 years have gone up by 50%. The average inmate, it takes $45,000 per year to house for health care costs, for food, for clothing, for a place to lay their head, for heat. Now, I know a lot of citizens that would love to have $45,000 a year. Heard some amens. The fact of the matter is that our retribution approach is not working. You know, what we have to do is we have to rehabilitate these individuals that haven't complied with our laws. We have to reintegrate them into society. We have to change their mindset. That's the only way that we change the money that's spent on the correction system. The budget sets forth a certain dollar amount. And although we don't have that dollar amount, we're $375 million over budget right now in the state of Kentucky, we're still allotting money for places like, or for things like the correctional facilities, when it should be allotted for education. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson, the same issue. The prison system in Kentucky is such a costly part of the Kentucky state budget.
Well, I'm sorry. I believe that if you break the law, you need to suffer some consequences. But the judge and jury are the ones that decide what the consequences are. I can tell you in Bell County we've got two issues with our jails. First of all, we have a state prison up at Chinola, and it takes care of the state inmates. And about 250 of them are housed there. But I think the more important issue is our local jails. They're the ones that are actually having a more difficult time. For example, Bell County spends $1.2 million on its local jail, and $750,000 of that comes from the general fund, and the rest of it comes from the state. And on any given time you go to the Bell County Jail, you're going to have between 90 and 100 inmates down there. No matter if you go today, 10 years ago, and it only holds 59, but any time it's going to be between 90 and 100. And I can also tell you that there's 350 people right now that could be in jail, but they're out on bail. So you've got two choices. You can either double or triple the size of your jails. And if you do that, then you're going to have a massive tax increase to pay for the jails. I mean, there's no question. And the state won't let a county build a jail less than 200 inmates. So the question is, would you like to pay extra taxes to have a jail that's bigger? Because not only do you pay the bond issue on the jail, but as you all know, you're going to have to pay the medical, which is outrageous. You're going to have to pay the food, extra guards, and all that. Knox County, for example, they don't keep any inmates. They farm all theirs out. When they arrest somebody, they send them to Clay County or somewhere else, and that costs them $2.5 million to house them in other places, and that's not even counting the medical.
Yes, sir. Money again. State pension funds and systems. The state pension funds or state pension systems in the state of Kentucky are in terrible financial shape. How would you address this? Can it be addressed? And do you have any projections or projects or activities that you think can be used to address the state pension system?
We have 3 pension systems in Kentucky under the Kentucky Retirement System. One's for state police, 2 is for state workers, and 3 is for your county school board, your cooks, janitors, and all your city and county employees. All of them are under the umbrella of the Kentucky Retirement System. The governor appoints some members to a board, like a school board or a city council, to set all the rules. The members elect some of their own folks. The issue that Pat was talking about, the one that seems to be in the worst shape, is the state employees, the ones that flag for the highway and all that. And by the way, we've got 41,000 folks that are retired and draw a check. But we've only got 50,000 active employees paying into the system. And it takes $1 billion a year to pay for the state employee health plan. $750 million for pension, $250 million for health insurance. $1 billion. Now, how do we pay for that? Right now, the active members, the 50,000, they pay about $135 million a year. The state pitches in about $300 million a year. And investments, that's where the big ticket items is about $650 million a year. And hopefully every year when you add all of them together, you're going to meet the $1 billion. Now, 10 years ago, instead of $1 billion, it was only $400 million it took to fund it. So you can see how much it's went up. A lot of it has been health care. But the investments are so important that in 2009, the Kentucky Retirement System lost $1 billion. They didn't make any money. If you remember, that was a bad year for the stock market and a lot of the other funds. So the retirement system had to dip out from the reserve. Now, some possible good news is the governor has appointed a pension task force, and they'll have some recommendations coming up in December.
Mr. Howard, concerning the state pension funds and plans, they have been ranked by audit and by actuarials to be in terrible shape. Do you have any ideas, projects, or activities that you would promote to relieve this pension crisis?
Thanks for that question. And the state pension system is, it's an important question. The problem with the state pension system comes from one area. That's because we keep borrowing from it. A few years ago, we borrowed from the state police pension fund We borrow from teachers' retirement accounts, and we don't put it back. That's why it's in disarray, because we can't balance our budget. Now, to me, a budget means knowing how much money we have, knowing how much money we can spend. What we're doing is we're listing expenses. We're $375 million over budget for a reason. And to cover those expenses, it comes from taxes increased, and it comes from borrowing from pension programs. We borrowed from the pension program for the equestrian games in Lexington, Georgetown area a couple years ago. That's not kosher with me. The second thing that we can do to resolve our state pension crisis is to turn everything into a 401k. To put the state workers on the same level as our teachers who pay into a 401k in order to draw their retirement. Right now, you only have to work for the state for 10 years to be able to draw that state pension. Teachers have to work 30 years to draw theirs? 27? Does that seem fair? Those are your new ideas right there. Let's do those things, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about others. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, we'd like to talk about the youth of Belton. If elected, what activities and/or programs and projects would you promote to add additional activities and opportunities for the youth of Bell County?
Thank you. I think what we've seen in the last few years, we've seen downtown Middlesboro, downtown Pineville, we've seen these organizations that allow young people to get involved and to become part of their community. Just yesterday or the day before, we had a mock election at Middlesboro High School. Our kids, our young people are advancing at an exponential rate. We've got to keep up. We have to have things that keep them interested. How do we do that? We prepare them. We get in the schools. We get colleges in the school at 8th grade year, freshman year, to have the kids thinking about where they're going to go, what they want to do when they grow up. Now, the fact of the matter is that once we revitalize Bell and Harlan counties, once we make these additions to promote our tourism, I think that our youth will play a vital role. Now, we have young professionals who have come back. We have people like myself. We have Danny Smith, who graduated from Pineville High School, went to college, obtained his bachelor's, went on to law school, came back here. He's practicing as a professional now. Mike Ingram, same thing, went to Bell County High School, went on, got his law degree, came back. Kaylin Hampton went on, got her teaching degree, comes back, teaches at Pineville High School. Daniel Slusher, Adam and Blake Bowling. People go on, our young people, they go on, get their degrees, and they're returned to help the area. That's how we get them involved. We give them the vision that they can come back and they can make a difference. They don't have to go to the big city to make it. We can come back home and we can make it here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, if re-elected, what activities and or programs will you promote to provide activities for the youth of Bell County?
Well, I think we need to better utilize what we have now. I noticed I saw Kevin Barnett in the audience here, and he's really a big lead person in the Little League Baseball. So we do have, I believe, a lot of activities. I remember when I was little, we had activities. It was called chores. And our parents, it was a simpler time, I know, back in the 60s and 70s, but it seemed like the parents had more activities for kids to do. They were held more responsible. You mowed the grass, you did some things around the house. And I think that is an important activity, because if you're going to send your kid out to a recreation center every night instead of being a good parent, then I think you need a good parent to be with you. And that helps more than anything. I like the Little League Baseball, and I'm a big believer. Since I was a teacher, I coached Tim Mills right there in basketball and started him, and he was surprised when we did that. The schools are the best way because they have easy access to our kids. And you have at our schools right now, you have the athletic teams, you have the band, you have the debate teams, you have everything in the schools. And I think that the schools are doing a good job, and I think we need to do anything we need to try to help build the schools up, because it's ready-made. The kids are already there 200 days a year. And again, your Little League Baseball, your basketball, and things like that. But again, it's still going to be up to the parents. I think the parents need to plan activities for the kids and maybe do that. And I think if you do that, you're going to see a lot better kids.
Mr. Nelson. Southern Kentucky, of course, is suffering from an illegal drug epidemic. What further steps can be taken at the state level to control this? And in one of the previous sessions, House Bill 463 was passed that reduced certain felony drug trafficking charges to misdemeanors. Can we continue to do this at the state level? And what further steps do you think that we can take to address our epidemic?
I think that's a good question. The first part of your question goes back to our jail overcrowding, and I know we have a lot of court systems now that are looking for the alternative sentencing. But in this year's General Assembly, we passed House Bill 1. I was a sponsor of it and voted for it. And House Bill 1 is supposed to be, and hopefully will be, an attack on the terrible illegal prescription drug problem that we have. That's where people goes to a doctor and gets 120 pain pills and then they go out and sell it. Here's what House Bill 1 did. It created a monitoring system. If you go into your doctor and you get 120 pain pills, he's required now by law, where it was just voluntary, he has to put your name in a system called Casper. How many pain pills you got, when you got it. Now that's going to keep that gentleman or lady from going to another doctor on Wednesday and getting 120 more pain pills. It's called doctor shopping. So House Bill 1 did that. Also, House Bill 1 cracked down on these illegal pain clinics. And what the bill said, if you own a pain clinic, you have to be a licensed physician or you have to hire a full-time licensed physician to run that clinic, because before you went in there and got a prescription and got your illegal pills. 10 pain clinics have closed in Kentucky as a result of the law. Now, that's what we did in House Bill 1. But here's what happened when it went to regulations. A group called the Kentucky Board of Medical Licensures got involved. 16 members, 14 of them doctors. And they made it tougher. You have to get a urine test now. Why would you have to get a urine test? Well, what if you get 120 pills and they give you a urine test and you don't have any pain medicine in your system? You've not taken the pills, have you? So House Bill 1, we can talk about it, maybe you'll have another question on that, but that's what House Bill 1 did.
Further steps to curb the epidemic?
Now, is this a new question?
No, this is in this question. What further steps can be taken at the state level?
Well, I think that the House Bill 1, if we give it a chance to implement it, I think it will really pay some dividends. And by the way, Tennessee passed a similar bill, and it's going to take effect January 1st of 2013. So that's going to keep you folks from going down to Tennessee and do doctor shopping too. You know what I'm saying? So that helps. And the other steps, I think that the drug education is important. Further steps. I believe in education. And the thing about education for drugs is you really don't know, you don't have a graph or a score on it. You don't know if education has been successful in that because there's no statistics on it. But I'm a firm believer in education, not only for drug prevention, but a whole other host of problems too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Same question. Southern Kentucky has an illegal drug epidemic. What further steps can be taken at the state level to control this epidemic in lieu of the House passing bills that reduce certain felony drug trafficking charges to misdemeanors?
Thank you. As everyone knows, it's a true statement. We do have a drug problem. It's something that touches every family. The rich, the poor, the elite, the non-elite, it affects everyone. Now, one thing that we can do to curb the problem, we can give our young people and even our older people something else to do. You know, we can revitalize their area. We can beef it up so that they don't sit around and think about using drugs or waste their time. One thing that's being done in Texas, and I don't know why, but it seems like we all have a soft spot in our heart for Texas, but one thing that's working there is the doctors. Keep in mind, these are abuses of prescription medications. And where do prescriptions come from? They come from the doctors. What Texas is doing is they're limiting the amount of time that the doctors can write narcotics to people, to patients. After a certain period, I think it's 3 months in the state of Texas, you have to go see a specialist to continue receiving your pain meds. Now that is a little bit of regulation, but in professions like doctors, lawyers, in professions that have ethical responsibilities, it's important to keep everybody honest. It's important to highlight the problems that our areas are facing, from that quick $50 to see that patient, to write him a prescription once a month. As many of you are aware, Operation Unite was started here in Bell County. You know, Operation Unite was a great tool. It caused cohesiveness in our community. It's something we need to revitalize. Okay, Unite's not doing what they used to do. These programs that we already have in place, let's use them along with Casper, which was actually part of our state system before House Bill 1. Casper's just something that was not utilized. Casper's been put at the forefront now to say, hey, Mr. Pharmacist, you need to put in your computer that this person got this prescription on this day. That way when you go to another pharmacy, it shows up on their network. It's something that we can improve. Thank you.
Mr. Howard.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a change. It's a desperate issue, but it's different than the drug epidemic. It involves veteran services. It involves our veterans coming back from Afghanistan and Iran. Veteran services are definitely limited in our area. What plans do you have, if elected, for increasing availability to these much needed services?
That is very important. The one thing that we don't have here is we don't have any veteran services. The veterans who fought and served us, they have to go to Lexington, they have to go to Knoxville, they have to go to Johnson City, they have to go to Louisville, to the VA hospital. What they've done in other areas is they've not built a VA, but what they've done is they've had doctors come from the VA to small towns like ours and to set up programs, to establish programs to deal with PTSD, which a lot of our armed servicemen are dealing with. We need to make it easier for them to get help. We need to make it to where they don't have to drive 2.5 hours to get help, because quite frankly, a lot of them aren't going to drive 2.5 hours. They're going to sit and they're going to deal with it. We need to do more things for our veterans to show them that we appreciate them. You know, we have a Veterans Park on 119. It's about 5 miles outside of everywhere. Okay, we need to have a Veterans Memorial, a Veterans Museum. We need to put those people that fought for us up on a pedestal where they belong. We need to have a Veterans Museum in Middlesboro, a Veterans Museum in Harlan. We need to let those people know that we still appreciate them. We still appreciate their services. We didn't send them over there to do a job that we didn't want to do ourselves. We sent them over there. They volunteered to go over there to help us, and we appreciate that. And when I'm elected, I will do whatever I can to see that the veterans of our area and the veterans all over the state are admonished and applauded for their service. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson, veteran services. Of course, they're sparse in the area. And if re-elected, what do you plan to do to increase the availability to our veterans, young and old?
Well, currently, probably 99% of our veteran services are federal related. A Veterans Hospital is a federal project. And I know that Congressman Hal Rogers and I think this city council and maybe the fiscal court too has started doing some resolutions to see if we can get that federal Veterans Hospital close to the area. But now if they're going to put it in Perry County or Knott County, you're probably faster going to Lexington than you are up to there. So we're hoping that Congressman Rogers and our federal delegation will be able to come through, because the veterans issues are federal. However, Kentucky has one of the only veteran service organizations or a cabinet level legislation here in the state of Kentucky. We actually have a benefit officer that comes down to Bell County to try to assist our veterans. So I think that's important, and they tried to send him to Somerset, but we got him back here locally. So on veterans issues, I'm not a veteran. I have a brother that was a 30-year Marine. We can't do enough for our veterans. And hopefully the federal government will build us a hospital somewhere in the central part of this hub here, so that our veterans can maybe just travel 15 minutes or 20 minutes instead of going to a Hazard or a Bristol or a Lexington.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, during your previous terms, as the incumbent, what do you think have been your main accomplishments for Bell and Harlan County?
I think that, first of all, I'm going to mention, I guess, the bigger ones is the water projects. And when you have over 1,500 families that didn't have water and all of a sudden they do, I think that's a big accomplishment. And another thing that I like doing, since I'm an educator, ex-educator, is our Data Sync program. Before the Data Sync program came in, the schools had very few computers. Now, first of all, you have to agree that computers are the way of the future, technology is. No computers. I know that high schools have computer labs and they're very old, that didn't work. We've helped bring over 2,000 computers to our local schools. And I think that's a good accomplishment if you believe in technology and education. And each school in the county has at least one computer lab. But let me tell you the best thing about that, Tim. When they're not being used in the night, those Data Sync computers form a grid all throughout eastern Kentucky, and they make a supercomputer. And the University of Louisville uses that supercomputer to fight cancer. Now, how neat is that? Of the day the kids use them, of the night, they're going to fight cancer. And that's what the Data Sync program is all about. Everybody here has been touched by cancer. Wouldn't it have been neat that a computer used by your grandkid of the day helped find a cure for cancer of the night? And you know what else? In the last 2 years, we've had about $5 million worth of blacktop put in the air. I guess that's a big deal, depending on where you live. But I think my accomplishments so far this year are 1,240. That's how many people's called my home. And I think I appreciate that accomplishment, being able to help an elderly citizen or a young lady or somebody that didn't have anybody else to call to me. So I think those 1,240 accomplishments, the folks that's called me to count on me, I consider that accomplishment as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mr. Howard, if elected to the State House of Representatives, District 87, what do you most want to accomplish in office?
Thank you, and that is very important. My passion is in education. Education is what has put me here today. By creating a platform, one that I can help promote higher education among our youth at an early age, 8th grade, 9th grade. We don't wait till junior and senior year of high school. We get our colleges and our post-secondary institutions involved early. I hope to accomplish, more than anything, getting the message across that there's one solution to every problem. That's education. Through education creates opportunities for our young people. Through education, we have job skill and vocational training for our adults. Education is the key. Never forget that. Education has taken a back burner in our state, and when elected as your state representative, I will bring it back to the forefront. Thank you.
Closing statements will now be given by the candidate. Mr. Nelson, closing
Thank
statement.
you. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up here today, and this has been a good forum, and I thought we'd have a few more questions. Did we do 21 already?
No.
Okay, we didn't do 21.
But you had 21 minutes worth
All right.
of answers on everything.
Well, again, it's an honor to serve our citizens, and I've worked as hard as I can to do that. And, you know, the title of state representative is good. If my mom and dad was alive, they'd be so proud they wouldn't know what to do. But, you know, I don't think that I'm any better than anybody else because I have that title. As a matter of fact, it's an humbling experience to think that the citizens of Bell and Harlan County would vote for a boy from Black Star, Kentucky for state representative. If my dad was here, I don't know what he'd do. He'd probably go around and tell everybody who he was and all that. I mean, he would be that proud. And I'm proud to be able to serve, whether I serve 2 more years, 4, or this is it for me. And it's been an honor to do that. You know, one of the things that I guess we did mention, the office of state representative is one position. And I know I can't do everything. I try to work with all of our county judges, and I work with the mayors and things and try to help them. If they need my help, they call me. If I need their help, it's just the same. And I think we have, in this short time here, I know that we've returned $6 million to Bell County Fiscal Court. Now, that's a lot of money. That's not the $800,000 that I heard mentioned earlier. We've returned $6 million to Bell County Fiscal Court, $1.4 million to the city of Middlesboro, and $558,000 to the city of Town. Wonder what would happen if all that money had disappeared and they didn't have it. More taxes, less services, I don't know. And another thing we did here, you know, we talked about things for the kids. I've been criticized before for putting money in for Little League Baseball. They say that's a little project. Don't send money in for Little League Baseball, Rick. But you know, I'd rather go around and watch my kid play Little League Baseball as go down to the jailhouse and pick him up. As long as I'm state representative, if I get a chance to put money in for Little League Baseball, it's going to be put in there. But again, my thanks to you, Pat, thank you. Virginia Huff, if you're watching, thank you for all you've done, and good night to all.
Mr. Howard, closing statement.
Thank you. The 87th District is the most unique in all of Kentucky. We're the home of Cumberland Gap. We're the home of the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park, America's Gateway. We're the home of Pine Mountain, the first state park. We're the home of Kingdom Come State Park. We're the home of Black Mountain, the highest point in the state of Kentucky. And for all of you Wildcat fans, we're the home of Kaywood Ledford, the legendary voice of the Kentucky Wildcats. We have so much that our elected officials have failed to promote, and these are our strengths and opportunities for development. In the pioneering spirit of our forefathers and the dedication of our citizens, I want to serve. I want to serve as your state representative, giving of myself to your service to make home a better place. Now, most politicians want to highlight the weaknesses and the challenges in their area instead of the strengths and opportunities for development. This is my vision, and I will lead the way. I love this place. I was born here, I grew up here, I've returned here to raise a family, to live with my wife, to build a business, to serve as a fellow citizen. On day one, when elected, I will fight to return all of our coal severance dollars back to where they came from. I will network and promote our industrial development in our area to create jobs. I will promote higher education and career opportunities for our youth, and especially emphasizing job skill and vocational training for our adults. Now, this election is critical. The people of the 87th District have the opportunity to set the course of their future. We can, as we have historically done, lay a new foundation of opportunity through leadership, service, and vision. I'm Josh Howard. I'm committed to doing just that. With your voting support, I will be elected as your state representative, and I look forward to serving you. Thank you.
I want to thank both candidates tonight. We respect the fact that, quite frankly, they're willing to stand before the public and state their positions on issues that are really heartfelt by Bell County and Harlan County citizens. I want to give some thanks to the Bell County League members, to the Middlesboro Business and Professional Women's Club for their help, to the Middlesboro Mayor for allowing us to use the facilities along with his city council and the Middlesboro staff. And of course, the local media who have contributed to this success. And of course, to you, the voters. We hope tonight that all the information that you've heard, that you gain some insight and some aid in making your decision, your choice on Tuesday, November the 6th. Please vote, make democracy work, and remember, take a friend to vote. Thank you very much. We'd like you to join us for refreshments and the opportunity to speak to the candidates one-on-one.